buenas noches a todos y bienvenidos a Café Musical. Es un placer tenerlos nuevamente con nosotros. Hoy será el primer día que tenemos nuestro programa en inglés, así que quiero explicarles un poco de cómo funcionan los subtítulos en YouTube. Tienen que ingresar a donde dice CC, Closed Caption. Ahí pueden escoger el idioma que será inglés y después les da la opción de hacer autotraducir o autotranslate. Espero que no tengan problemas con esto. Les recuerdo que solamente puede ser desde un computador, no puede ser desde un dispositivo móvil. También quiero aprovechar la oportunidad para que se suscriban al canal si es la primera vez que están aquí y le cuenten a sus amigos sobre nuestro programa. Thank you so much for joining us today in Café Musical. We are very happy to have our first program in English. I would like to invite everybody to subscribe to our channel and just click on the little bell so that you can get all the notifications of our future shows. And usually our shows are in Spanish, but there is an auto-translate option that you can choose in the future shows. Today we have a guest violist from Brazil, Fábio Saggin, who is going to tell us a little bit about his life, his career, and so many things that he has done with his music and his viola. Welcome, Fábio. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Fábio. Tell us a little bit about you and your life and your career, and we can talk also a little bit about the piece that we just listened at the beginning of the show.
Okay, so I'll try to make this very short. So, I'm from Brazil, and then I did my undergrad there. During that time, I played in orchestras in the region. So I'm from Santa Catarina, one of the states in the south. And in my last semester in my undergrad, I came to US for like an exchange program. And when I went back to Brazil, I was fortunate enough that there was an opening for an orchestra in the region, or the central region in Brazil, near the capital, near Brasília. So it was in Goiânia, Orquestra Filarmônica de Goiás. That's an amazing orchestra, and you'll be able to watch a video of that orchestra in this interview. And there I played for 3.5 seasons. And then after that, I decided to come to US pursuing like master degree and then a doctoral degree. So I did my master degree at Penn State. And then immediately after that, I came to UW-Madison, where now I'm in my 3rd year, like the doctoral program. And during my whole time here, besides playing orchestras around and stuff like this, I'm also a member of the graduate string quartet. So
that's great. Fábio, what a fantastic career you have had. You're the second violist that we have in our show since the beginning of Café Musical, a Canadian violist, and you. And I really love this instrument, and I think it's the perfect combination between low and high. And can you tell us a little bit about the piece that we heard at the beginning, and the composer and the relation to the composer in the other pieces?
Yes. So that recording, it was for like a competition, online competition that I did in Brazil last October, that I won the first prize. So I'm really happy with that.
Well, congrats.
Yeah, thank you. And that was one of the pieces that I need to submit. The piece that we just heard is like by Hernani Aguiar. And that's the second movement of a piece called Melorritmias. But the name of the movement, it's called Resposta a bilhete do Jogral Rapeixe. It's kind of a joke, like with the words. So it's kind of response to another piece composed by Guerra Peixe. That this is the name that you hear a lot in this interview. So, and there's lots of similarities between like this response and the original work. That's also solo viola. They are kind of mirror. They start in a way, they develop, and they end in the same way. So it's a very interesting way, like compositional structure. And both pieces have that with that one that we just heard, it's a little bit more, the harmony is a little bit more advanced in a way, but you still can hear the Brazilian, like you did a research about Brazilian music.
Yes.
You know the mixolydian, like the Brazilian kind of modes. So I think that it is still there, even though it's a response. And I don't know how we call that in English. It's not really reading. We call releitura.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know exactly in English, but it's kind of that. It's kind of how he sees the work, and he writes his own way. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah,
that's interesting that you mentioned that, because the music of Brazil sometimes is so easy to just like catch. Like it's like, that has to be Brazilian. Like there's like something imprinted in your music that it's actually beautiful. I think it's wonderful because it's like a big identity that we really can recognize.
Yes.
What about the piece that we're gonna listen to? That was a really long time ago when you recorded this, right?
With the orchestra?
The one with the orchestra, yeah.
Yeah, so that the video that you watch indeed is my last performance ever with the orchestra.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they knew that I was leaving to come to US for my master degree. So I have lots of feelings for that video. So that's a tour in Brazil. That was in São Paulo, like one of our most important concert halls in Brazil. And that was also like the release of the CD. That was back in 2016. Yeah. So, and that was the release of the CD. So in this video, it's not the whole program that we record the CD because of like time limits of the hall and stuff like this. But yeah, so I think the excerpt that you listened from Tirada da Laguna, that's it's basically like a symphony. It's like, but with a story behind. And yeah, and it's a piece that I really love also, like Guerra Peixe, again. It was just works by Guerra Peixe. And just a little bit about the process of recording that. I remember that, I don't know how familiar people that watch here are with like recording in the studio. So in general, when we record by ourselves, we already spend some time. Like in general, we record a few hours to get some minutes. And then imagine this now with probably like 67 musicians. So it gets a little bit more complicated because if someone plays something wrong, okay, let's redo that. I remember that we recorded the whole CD in 21 hours. That were like 4 days that we did 6 hours in 3 days, morning and afternoon. And then the next day was just like half day. But, and I don't know, like Goiânia is a very hot city as well. And the AC couldn't be on because be captured by the microphones. And we were allowed to go with very comfortable clothes, flip-flops, like completely against the orchestral rules. But for the CD, they were like, yes, you guys can, because it needs to be comfortable. So the AC was always on when we were not playing. So good as well. But we had lots of breaks. So it was not, oh, we are recording for 3 hours, lunch, and 3 hours again. We had many breaks between. So that was an amazing experience. We had an amazing sound engineer as well, that he records like big orchestras around the world. So that was an amazing experience. And yeah, I'm really happy to be able to be part of that.
that the experience of recording in an orchestra is very interesting because you feel like you have a big responsibility to not be your fault that they redo something.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, I understand what you mean.
And I feel that for winds especially, or percussion, because you are always a soloist, so I think for you, you still have a little bit more pressure in the string section. If someone plays something wrong, sometimes can be hidden there. But I know that for winds is a little bit more pressure.
Yeah, and you can get like water or something that doesn't work and an attack. So it's a lot of variables. But now that you said that it was 21 hours recording, I did the math for my CD, and between recording and doing the post-production, like the edition and everything, it was 32 hours. So it's pretty close. So I'm pretty sure that the post-production was a lot longer for the orchestra.
For sure.
Yeah. So can people find this music? They can find it in the YouTube in your website, the one that you have, the full piece, right?
You can see the video from the concert that it's missing 3 movements, if I'm not wrong, because again, the time frame that we had to play in the hall. I'm in contact with the orchestra because that was a CD that was printed, if I'm not wrong, was with the help of the cultures. I don't know how to say that in English, but like by the government, the culture.
Yeah. Ministry of Culture.
Ministry of Culture. So I know that people that got the CD was free. So I'm trying to see if they published that. I didn't find it on Spotify or iTunes, but it's an amazing CD. I think every year the orchestra is recording a CD.
Great.
So yeah, I don't know if there's some deal with the government that they cannot put.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works. Since when they release, I left the orchestra. I still have contacts there, but
they still can listen online on YouTube and just like find on your website. I saw that you have all your videos very nicely organized, beautiful website. So I recommend that everybody visits. So we'll post the website on the description of this video so that everybody can access it. So let's listen to the music. Now it's time for some music. Thank you so much for sharing this music with us, Fabio. I think we don't get to listen to a lot of orchestra music in our show, in Café Musical. So every time I have the opportunity, I just put it in our as part of our show. But I want to ask you about what you're doing right now, because last week you did a wonderful lecture recital for your degree, and I was there and present, and it was really great to see you talking about Brazilian music for viola. And so tell us a little bit about what your project is.
Yeah, so first, thank you for watching the live stream.
Yeah, of course.
That's really nice that we have during this time. So it's the live stream. And yeah, so my lecture recital was about the influence of Paris Dvoretsky the development of the Brazilian viola repertoire. So Perez Dvoretsky was like a Hungarian Brazilian violist. It's like he survived the war. So as many people that you see from Europe that had like Jewish heritage, that were born like in the 20s and 30s, they need to escape war. They need to buy passports with different names and stuff like this. So he's one of these cases. And then he studied a little bit in the Franz Liszt Academy in Hungary. And then the war started. And then he went to concentration camp. And he survived because he played violin. So he could understand the soldiers. And his biography, it's amazing, could become easily a movie because it's so amazing how they need to flee like Hungary, going to Austria and Italy, buying passport, and then going to Brazil. And then in Brazil, we didn't have much Brazilian music written for viola, like in the end of the 40s when he got there. And then he influenced like lots of composers at that time. The first one was Guarnieri. It's maybe the most nationalist composer that we have. He wrote like an open letter to the Brazilian community, condemning like the dodecaphonic music. So that was the first important substantial viola work that we had in Brazil, was like from 1950. And then after that, Guerra Peixe, a name that you're in this interview, also dedicated a work for him. And then later, other composers also started dedicating pieces for him, or he commissioned works. So my research for my final project here, that besides writing something, is the main part is really recording a CD with the works that he kind of influenced, like that now we have in Brazil. And as you could see in the lecture recital, the pieces are very different from each other and they are amazing. It's like, I just love them. And you get, sometimes even if it's Brazilian music, you get influence like of French music because they study with like Ravel, Debussy. So this is really interesting, but in the end sounds Brazilian. I think that's the biggest thing.
So tell me, how did you came up with the idea of doing your research in this particular topic?
This is a good question. And to be honest, when I was like in my undergrad back in Brazil, was the first time that I entered like a Brazilian piece for viola, and was 3 pieces for viola and piano by Guerra Peixe, that I think we'll listen a little bit later. And then that was the first piece, and I saw written in the score, Perez Dvoretsky. And I was like, okay, at that time I was like, okay, this doesn't sound Brazilian at all. Perez Dvoretsky, it's kind of Polish name. But the next piece I played was a sonata by Nathalie for viola and piano, also dedicated and was commissioned by Perez Dvoretsky. This guy must be very important for Brazilian music. And since that time, I start like researching and like trying to know a little bit about him. And then I saw other pieces that were dedicated, and I was like, oh my God, this guy, it's part of our history. Mm-hmm. He was not the only one. We had 2 other Hungarian violists that went to Brazil, the same circumstances, that also had some pieces dedicated to them. So because of those people, we have the music that we have today. They were able to play. Until that time, we basically didn't have violists in Brazil, you know? Oh. So they helped to bring more awareness to the instrument in Brazil. I think that's...
Fábio, when you were studying in Brazil, was it common that teachers would use Brazilian music repertoire as part of the curriculum and things like that?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, this was something. I played 2 Brazilian pieces during my undergrad, but I also recorded a CD with the orchestra, the university orchestra, that was a string orchestra. And all the pieces were written, like Brazilian pieces written for a string orchestra. So yeah, we always had that in part of the curriculum. It was not really something that was mandatory, but
okay.
it kind of encourage you. So, and also in music festivals, the 3 pieces by Guerra Peixe is the one that's played the most by students. So that's why it's very interesting and very important, I think, to be playing in these and showing.
Mm-hmm.
It's one that really, really shows Brazilian music.
That's great.
All elements, but without being a quotation.
Mm-hmm.
It's inspired, but not quoting. So
I remember this from your lecture recital that you mentioned this. It's interesting because we sometimes confuse influence with quotation, and it can be influenced by the rhythm and the melodies, but tweaked by other elements of the music. I wanted to ask you about your process of, so you've been researching this person for almost your entire career. How does it feel to finally put this on paper? Like,
to be honest, putting in words, it's so hard. Like in a second language. So you went through this as well.
Yes.
But what I feel sad a little bit is because there's too much things that I want to write down. And because first, his biography, it's amazing. And I'm in contact with the family as well. So I have their support. That's amazing. They watched the live stream and they're really happy with all this project that I'm doing. And they are also producing a documentary about him.
Nice.
And this is amazing. And so I because I have contact with the family, I watch some videos about like they talking about the war time and stuff like this. I almost cried watching the things as well. You know, even I never met him. I never met Perez Dvoretsky. So he passed in 2011. And at that time, I was still studying in the undergrad. I didn't have much connections in music festivals and stuff like this. So, but I think that's the beauty of the thing. Even though I didn't meet him, we have so many recordings. Some of the pieces, he's the only one that recorded since the 50s.
Wow.
So you cannot find commercial recordings of some of the works. And some of the works that were dedicated to him, or even that he composed, are not recorded. So that's one of the things that I really think that's important that I will bring, like with this final project, is awareness about who he was and his legacy, but also bring some music back to life, you know, because he recorded like in LPs, some of them were remastered like to CDs, and they are great. But sometimes I feel that would be interesting to have, we have technology nowadays that we can have like some, I'm not saying that I will play better than him, but I think that's nice to have another recording.
Yes, of course. Yeah. The versions of music and the interpretation is so important in our life.
And the idea of this CD as well, that this album, indeed will be an album, a digital album probably in the end, is more almost like a thank you to him, you know? That's like pieces that were influenced by him. Even though he recorded some in different like LPs or CDs, it's not something about him. And this, what I want to do, it's really like tribute. I don't like much tribute or in memory because I feel that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
It's more like a thank you album to him, you know. I feel that's it's, you know, it's just a different tone to the word. I don't know.
I think there's a lot of beauty in that, because we as musicians, we actually, we are always trying to find the connection with composers, with players, with performers, and that is part of the art, right? And yes. So I think it's very valuable that you're doing this project, and I was really happy to like when I saw this, I was like, oh, I need to invite Fábio to our show, because everybody needs to listen and hear about this amazing project that you're getting yourself into. So I would love to share with everybody what the music that we're talking about before. Oh my God, it's almost time. So before we go, I want to share with you all the music that Fábio recorded. Thank you, Fábio, for sharing this music with us. This is actually, from the entire recital, one of my favorites. And that's, as you can see, I did a little bit longer, because in every show, our audience is always asking for longer music. So today I decided to give a little bit of more music. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. And if people want to watch more of my videos, stuff like this, you can just go to the website as well. I might post something from the lecture recital there. So I'll try to update the site as soon as possible.
That's great. Well, it's been such a pleasure to talk with you, and to listen again to all the Brazilian music. That is actually, my research was also on that, and so I have a nice connection with it.
Yeah, and as I already mentioned to you, it's like your research is it was a sample to mine. It's kind of
Thank you.
Similarities, yeah. So it was kind of one of the inspirations to go this way. Yeah, and it was
Thank
really
you.
Good. I read so many times. I need to do the review for the Portuguese words, right? So
yes, it's true. Very good. Yeah, Fábio was the person that I would like. How do I say this? How do I write this? Is this correct? Is this spelled correctly?
And yes, it was amazing. Especially
Thank you.
Recital. I was like, I want to do like this.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your words. Fabio, thank you so much. I want to thank you for being here. I hope that your family can follow us and see our show from Brazil. And I will, of course, see you soon around the city because we're in the same city.
Just with the masks.
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
Good night. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. And thank you to Fabio for joining us tonight as well. We are, I want to invite you to subscribe to our channel and please share it with friends and family. And if you had any issues with the translation, please let me know so that I can troubleshoot a little bit. And I'm going to finish in Spanish for our Spanish speakers audience. Muchas gracias a todos por habernos acompañado. Ha sido un placer tener esta entrevista con Fábio Saggin, quien nos ha brindado unos elementos nuevos de la música de Brasil. Si tienen alguna pregunta y quieren saber más sobre Fábio, por favor no duden en comentar en el video y nos vemos la próxima semana. No olviden suscribirse a las 7 de la noche en Café Musical. Chao.